guys, Coach Kurt. So this is going to be the basic 101 throws of Taiho Jutsu, specifically modern police concepts method that I practice and teach. By no means is this all of the techniques. It's just a good showing of, and we're talking throws, takedowns, and projections. And to get into these positions, usually it's from somebody who's trying to strike you with a punch or somebody trying to grab you. And here's two examples. I used the flinch response or the long guard, and this was the elbow shield way of entering into a clinch range. And we're going to talk about the clinch range a lot because that has a lot to do with all these throws and all these takedowns and all these projections and the joint manipulation and joint locks, also known as yawara in some circles, that we're going to be talking about here. So this is pummeling, and this is super important. I use this as a warm-up drill at the beginning of class, along with ukemi or for break falls and rolls and shrimping and that kind of stuff. And to get to a lot of the things we're going to look at today, you need the arm pass. Now, there's duck unders and other things, but if we're talking basic 101, the arm pass is my favorite way to get a lot of these Russian 2-on-1 positions, like what you're seeing in the arm pass. And it's a great way to get to it is from practicing pummeling. And we're going to talk about that a lot in this video. And I apologize in advance. This is a long video because there's a lot of throws, takedowns, and joint locks and so forth we're going to talk about. Here's that arm pass. This is just a basic way of teaching it. There's other ways to get to it, but we're talking about the basic arm pass. Now, we're also going to talk about grabs. Like what you saw was a basic escape from a grab. It's like white belt level jiu-jitsu. And this would be trying to use balance and centrifugal energy to enter to an armbar takedown. Again, there's the basic way of escaping it. And then I see how manipulating his arms by moving a certain way to get to either an armbar style takedown or some other variation takedown. I'm bringing it up because it's important when it comes to your joint manipulation and wrist locks and arm bars, your yawara type stuff. And you see how I'm dropping my weight and he's holding on for dear life and I'm using that energy against him. Here's where you get to that 2-on-1 position. Remember, I said the arm pass is how you get there. And here we see it in the classic armbar takedown. Here again, the classic armbar takedown. You see this in just about every style of jiu-jitsu, aiki jiu-jitsu, hapkido. You get a rose by another name is the same thing. Here's entering throw number 1. That's what I call this takedown. And this is how I break it down. Again, from the 2-on-1 or escort position. And they curl their arm in because they don't like you in that position, and they suck you in. You let them suck you in, entering their center line, which is why I call it an entering takedown. I'm entering their center line. I'm trapping the backward motion or blocking the backward motion by putting my hand on their back and then using their head to take them down. Again, from another angle. I'm saying you get sucked in, you allow them their energy, you want them to have their energy, you use their energy against them, you enter them, and you take them down. And I always finish with like a shoulder pin, like you saw that there. That's good for handcuffing, for law enforcement circles, and non-handcuffing, you could just run away if you're in civilian circles or hold them down. Here's the Russian 2-on-1 takedown, or I just call it the 2-on-1 armbar takedown. It's a more modern variation other than the traditional armbar. And again, there I am going to a rear mount and the chicken wing position for handcuffing. This is Taiho Jutsu, so a lot of the positions end up in handcuffing. Here's the key lock takedown. One could even argue that this is an abbreviated Shihonage technique. I just call it a key lock takedown. I do not have a full Shihonage technique in this video. I apologize. Here I am just pushing the head away, spreading their balance, and it's a good way to take their kazushi, their balance, and key lock takedown. Kodagaiish, otherwise known as the outward wrist lock takedown. See how I drop. I'm dropping their balance. I'm taking their balance. I don't want to do the technique up high. I want to do it low as to take their kazushi, to take their balance. That's part of the technique. And you can go in multiple directions. That's just the direction I'm going. Sankyo or twist lock. This is a technique I've used quite a bit in the field as a cop over the years. One of my favorite techniques, and it's amazing how often you can get to it. Again, going down into like a shoulder pin to the mat for handcuffing. Super important. I call this entering takedown 2. Again, I call it that because I'm entering their center line to take their balance. And that's second variation. I finish with knee and belly, and then there's ways of getting them over on their back for handcuffing. Here they are. They're pulling away. I go with them for entering takedown number 3. Again, entering the center line. Just another variation of taking their balance by clashing into their center line. And again, these techniques, you'll see them in all styles of jiu-jitsu. There's several styles of Japanese jiu-jitsu. One could even argue German jiu-jitsu or European-style jiu-jitsu is a thing. But jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu, and they all seem to have variations of these takedowns. The takedown you just saw is also in Muay Thai, a variation of it. Here I am demonstrating that shoulder pin. I call it the picture framing method. I pinch. There's one side of the picture frame. I'm rotating into the other side of the picture frame, the final end of the picture frame, and down into the shoulder pin. It's a great way to pin their shoulder to the ground. This is Nikyo, also known as Z-lock. A great way to teach it is from the grab, like if they're wearing a gi, or in this case, I'm not wearing a gi, but you see the Z-lock. It's also called an S-lock in some circles, but it's Nikyo, and they call it a Z-lock because the arm ends up in a Z-type shape. Here I am from a chest grab on my outer vest. I call that a VA strike. Why do I call it a VA strike?
Just gotta have a treat, oh, but you shouldn't eat. Wow, I could have had a V8. Snacking the whole night through, oh, what that does to you.
Wow, I could have had a V8.
Yeah, that's why I call it the VA strike. It's a temiwaza, boys and girls. It's meant to get their attention, distract them. It's a distracting strike. I pop them on the forehead with my palm. I use that concept in a lot of Taiho Jutsu. I'm not trying to bash somebody's head in. This is law enforcement. It has to be objectively reasonable strikes. And depending on the scenario, you can hit them hard, but I like what I, again, call the V8 strike. I just aged myself, of course. There I just showed the Z-lock from a mount. Here is a Sankyo defense for rear naked choke. I've pulled that off in jiu-jitsu. It really works, boys and girls. It's a great technique. Here I am. This is just a smattering of ways of getting into different locks. A lot of Nikyo here. But you want to see how I'm dropping my balance. He's grabbing my wrist. I'm dropping my balance. And I just did Kotegai the outward wrist throw from a same side wrist grab. Here I am going into Nikyo. Again, this is a smattering of different ways to get into Nikyo and a few other positions. But see how I drop my weight and use outside big circles to move around them. It's a great way to take their balance and shift their weight. That's what you're trying to accomplish in a lot of these wrist grabs. And there's that V8 strike again, a palm strike to the forehead, nothing crazy, super effective. See how I almost glance it off their forehead just to purposely get them to look up like that. It really knocks their head up in an upward direction. It's a very reasonable way to strike somebody in lots of scenarios. There's that Z-lock and almost into a straight arm bar. I think I'm doing Kotegaishi here again, outwards wrist throw. Yep, from same side. Again, a smattering of the various ways to get into wrist locks. Z-lock again. And we'll move along here in a second, boys and girls. I just am showing it. Sankyo, again, my favorite wrist lock. And here I am using it in the field. This was drunk. I was going to be doing SFSTs on him. He had this big hunk of metal in his hand. It was a vape pen. I told him to put away. He said, screw you. And he puts it up to his mouth, sucks it in again. I try to take it from him. He says, no. And then he blows the smoke in my face. Guys, I waited for him to put that up to his mouth again, so he had that perfect bent elbow position for me to get into a Sankyo, and I put him across the hood of my patrol vehicle. And I had another officer with me, and he turned around, we put him in handcuffs. And it's like, okay, you're going to cool off. Here we are doing these techniques. Again, that's an outward wrist lock. Maybe you went for a Z-lock or Nikyo and it didn't work, and so you go to outward wrist lock. Here is pummeling again, but a live drill, and it's called the blindfold drill. And I threw it in here just to show you how important this stuff is. Pummeling is super important. Your eyes will fool you. I'm just doing this by feel. So I'm with my training partner. I'm blindfolded, and we're not going crazy or anything, but see how he went low? I got him in a guillotine choke. So again, I just felt that. This is a corkscrew takedown from a strike. Another one of my favorite takedowns. I call that the A-frame kick you just saw. And the corkscrew takedown. I don't know what you call this in other styles. I use a lot of English terminology, but this is a corkscrew from a clinch position using a knee now because we're sucked into each other. I'm very close. And so, again, just demonstrating the corkscrew takedown. It's a great takedown from clinch, depending on which direction their energy is going. All these takedowns, there I am going in the pin again, all these takedowns and throws depend a lot on direction of energy. Corkscrew again, the energy that they give you or the energy you shift or however their energy goes is how you decide which throw you're going to take. Here's the rear drop takedown. I'm using a dummy for this because this can be a hard one to fall out of if you don't have good yokemi. So I'm just using a dummy. And now I'm demonstrating how I'm going to go into what we call a rear mount to a gift wrap position. This is very important for handcuffing. So there's that gift wrap position. And now I need to transition to handcuffing because this is a good way to control them and talk to them if you're a civilian. But if you're a cop, you're going to want to handcuff. So I'm shifting their weight by using my elbow on the side of their head, spreading their head away from their shoulder, and it allows me to reach under and grasp for the handcuffing position. Guys, this works great. I teach this all the time, my officers in control tactics. It's a great way to get their hands out from underneath them if they've fallen on top of their hands, or a lot of times people will put their hands under their chest and you need to get their hands out from underneath them. It's a great way to do it. Just thought I would leave that in the video for that reason. But here's again the rear drop. We are going back into the blindfold. The reason we're doing that is because you're going to see the hip bump takedown. Very favorite takedowns. Hip bump takedown. Here we go. I'm pushing away. Give me a second. I apologize. I should have edited this better, but here I got him in a plum position. Plum is a great way to control the head. He's pushing there. Here we go. Hip bump takedown. Boom. I felt it. I got to his back. And here I am just demonstrating it off of a punch. I did a elbow shield, and then was able to get to his back. Guys, it's a super easy takedown, and I teach it to everybody in control tactics. Here's what would be a rear like sacrifice throw, or you trip them with your leg. That's another great way to get somebody down from the rear. Here it is from a headlock defense. This is a great way to stop the punch, and then I'm just going to trip them with like a sacrifice takedown. It's kind of a leg sweep takedown. Ankle pick. I love this takedown. Here I is from a clinch position. Again, you see a theme here. A lot of stuff has to do in the clinch, and the best way to practice the clinch is pummeling, and then you can grapple and spar and do randori from the clinch position. There's a lot of things you can do there. So here's the ankle pick. You sweep the leg and then you grab the pick. Here I am doing some live pummeling with my training partner, and I went right into the ankle pick. Simple technique, guys, but very effective. Here's a shoulder throw, and this is me actually being thrown. This is my Krav Maga and MMA coach that I used to train with at my old duty station, Coach Colton. And this is just one of the most beautiful examples of a shoulder throw. That's why I like using it. And we're doing what we call clinch sparring. We're doing some dirty boxing in clinch range. And I overcommit. You see me, you can see it. Boom. Oh, I'm right on his back, and he felt it. And here we go. Beautiful shoulder throw. Bam. So that is a terrific throw to train. This is going to be a head and arm throw. This is actually one of my favorite throws. Here I fence against a punch, and boom, right into you're basically tripping them over your hip and your leg. Here it is in slow motion. He throws that punch. I use an elbow shield. I wrap my hand around his head and shoulder throw, or a head and arm throw. Again, one of my favorite throws. Here I am doing a tutorial of it, teaching my training partner Aiken how to do it. And you see it in slow motion. You're basically head and shoulder, and you're twisting them around your waist and throwing them over your hip. And for good measure, I like to pop the leg out so they're falling over. You're tripping them over your hip and your leg. It's a great takedown, especially if it's done fast. Here's a simple hip throw in no-gi. Again, from a clinch position, I'm saying this would be more of a normal entry, but I like this entry where you do a body lock and then you grab their arm, you push against them, they push back, human nature. When you push, people push back, and they push themselves right into a simple hip throw. Standing double leg. Guys, this is a great one. See how I've stepped deep between their legs. I've pulled this off a lot. This is one of my favorite takedowns. It's safe because this is a standing double leg, not a blast double like you might see in MMA because you don't have a lot of control over that. And again, in Taiho Jutsu, I'm trying to keep it as ethical as possible, objectively reasonable force. You can juice all this stuff up and take down people harder if you have to, depending on the scenario. You change the scenario and you change the level of force you're allowed to use. It needs to be objectively reasonable. Outside leg sweep. You see it in all styles of judo, jiu-jitsu, hapkido. If it's a grappling system, that outward leg throw is in it. It doesn't matter. You see it in a lot of striking arts. But here I am from what I call the long guard entry with a knee. I pulled them and I sweep them. And I think I will do this from another angle. Nope. I'm doing a body lock takedown and a body fold takedown. And you're literally almost stepping over their hips. You're putting your head to their chest, you're dropping down their waist, and you're folding them over. This is what I call centrifugal energy throws or centrifugal entries, where here I am from a clinch, and I usually do it from a what's called a whizzer or an overhook. And then here I just went all the way around and took his back. Here you see that whizzer with my left arm, and I was able to just do a grab him by the back of the knee. You're letting the centrifugal energy take them all the way around, and then you enter for whatever takedown you're going to do. Here I did a fireman's carry. I don't know what they call that in a lot of jiu-jitsu systems, but I just call it a fireman's carry. There's that centrifugal energy by whipping them around. I'm dropping down into the fireman's carry. And I'm just shifting my weight from one hip to the other, and I'm pulling him down with my left hand and shifting my weight and just letting him fall over my shoulder. You're not lifting. Here's a centrifugal energy throw. Boom, I'm taking him over my shoulder. The same throw, but in a gi now. I'm using the centrifugal energy and almost into a Sankyo type position where you could, instead of going into a Sankyo, I'm stepping all the way through and using the centrifugal energy for the throw. I just call this like an arm throw because I'm using the centrifugal energy to throw them. Here it is from like a clinch position. He tries to pull away and I enter from like, again, you're just using that centrifugal energy to enter the throw. Here it is in slow motion or slow enough for you to see it. Boom. See how I duck under the arm? I'm creating that opening, and then I'm stepping through and just taking them. There it is in Sankyo. See, there it is completed into a Sankyo, and there it is being shifted to a throw. So these things can go from one to another. Again, I can't emphasize enough, Kazushi, you're breaking their balance. All these techniques, the ones you've just saw and the ones you're going to see, there's eight directions of taking balance, if you're not counting up and down. And a great way I like to demonstrate that, I call this the foot stomp takedown. I actually learned this in Krav Maga. You stomp on their foot and you push them up. See how I lifted my foot up at the last second? That's so they don't break their ankle or hurt their ankle on the way down. Here we are getting into the gi stuff. Some simple shoulder throws. That was a snap down. Guys, in the gi, I've heard it called sloppy judo, but the snap down in the gi is super effective. I've used that on the street. It's a terrific technique. Here I am just doing an outside leg trip or an outside leg throw, and I was distracting him going one direction and then going the other. I do a lot of like sweep distractions, like they think you're going to sweep one direction, but then you go to the other side. And here's that shoulder throw I was talking about. See how I'm creating that space and I'm stepping in and throwing them over the shoulder. You could also call I don't know what they call it in a lot of styles of judo or jiu-jitsu. Again, I use English terminology. Here I am just using my wrist or pushing to create that energy to go one way, and see how I'm filling that spot with my elbow or my arm, and I am stepping through. I'm probably not explaining it well, but Guys, if you want me to break this stuff down better, here I am saying you're not using a lot of power. I'm loading them up on my back, and I'm carrying them on my back, saying you don't need, if you're using a lot of strength to pull them over, then you're doing the technique wrong. You're dropping your weight below their hip level, and then you're just pulling them up with their shoulder over your back, and you're taking them down. Here I'm turning to the camera so you can see it. And I'm, again, feeling that void between their body. It's like a triangle. I'm stepping in, and boom. Typical gi shoulder throw. It's super easy once you learn it. Guys, everyone that does judo, jiu-jitsu knows the shoulder throw. And I just call this an arm drag takedown, and you'll see it again. You can do this in gi and no gi. You'll see it in both. And you just take their arm and pull it to their center line between their legs. See, I'm pointing down between their legs. And guys, I've used this on the street as a cop. Very effective. Bam! Poke him right down. And see how he went down to his knees. And I'm grabbing him by the oblique side there and just pulling him over. And you'll see another variation of this in a second in the gi. Very effective, super simple. The simpler, the better. Here it is in the gi. You could do this on somebody's wearing a coat. I'm saying same difference. You're grabbing the arm and you're pulling them down. And I'm just pointing down between their legs, and boom, sucked them down, and I was able to rotate into a back mount. Guys, super effective takedown. And simple. The simpler, the better, guys. I love simple stuff. Here I am, I call that, it's an arm drag into what I call the seatbelt position. It's a great way to take somebody down with minimal energy. Again, everything should be as simple as you can make it and as minimal energy as possible. This is an entering drill where you put their hands up in a V-like motion, and it's basically simulating how you would block a punch. You would sidestep, block by the elbow, great way to block a jab, for example, and then you're entering for your basic double leg style takedown. Very effective way to get in off of a jab. And by them holding their hands out like that, that's a great way to drill it without the punching. And then you build up to the punching. And what you just saw there was your typical elbow shield. Guys, I hope you liked it. I will probably do an add-on video concerning the groundwork, ground fighting positions for Taiho Jutsu. And I hope you guys liked it. Like, subscribe, and share.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.